I want you to meet a new guy what's going to be with us. This is,
Caesar Enrico Bandello.
oh, Little Caesar, huh?
Yeah, sure.
Ain't nothing little about him. Welcome, wise guys, to yet another episode of the Top 10 Favorite and from what I believe are the best performances by some of the greatest actors in all of cinema.
Well, listen, Hick.
That's right, see, I'm starting from 10 and then smacking right in the kitchen all the way up to number 1. And as always, I have seen every film attainable of every artist here, so every list comes from a long train ride of dedicated, passionate, wisecracking accuracy.
Mother of mercy.
Yes, an episode I've been wanting to do for a long, long time, folks. In honor of Jewish American Heritage Month, we are talking about one of the greatest actors that has ever dominated the screen with his power. You know him forever as Edward G. Robinson. Now looky here, born amazingly as Emanuel Goldenberg in Bucharest, Romania, at the end of the 19th century from a family of 5. According to his biography, Emanuel's brother was killed in an anti-Semitic attack, so it influenced his parents to emigrate the family to America in 1904, where Emanuel felt reborn again. His life officially began at age 10. Growing up on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. He was inspired to become a lawyer because it is so fun to act in court. However, once he received a scholarship from the famous AMDA, the bug to do theater really sunk in. He did serve a bit in World War I with the Navy, but thankfully never went overseas. Once he returned, it was non-stop Broadway action, ranging in various roles. But the name Emanuel Goldenberg, that wasn't going to cut it as the theater star. So he went to a Broadway show and heard someone on stage say, "Mr. Robinson." And Emanuel thought, that's it. And speaking of, Emanuel seemed to be too much as well. So going down the line of E's, Edgar, Edmund, Edward. But the last piece had to come from what was truly and authentically him, that being the G for Goldenberg. Thus, Edward G. Robinson was born. His theater work had been non-stop, and it took one big-time performance in the play The Racket to receive grand notice to come to Hollywood and play opposite Claudette Colbert in The Hole in the Wall. With the new age of sound increasing in cinema, Robinson would be less than deterred. He would go after it with sound, for he had a voice that could carry between 5 theaters. And because of that voice, Edward G. Robinson is one of the greatest actors of all time. You will see naturally because of his short stature, his big mug, his trademark of a cigar, giving us that wise smirk and vibrant New York accent like James Cagney, George Raft, and Humphrey Bogart. He had been typecast as the gangster forever, but for a good cause, and all those men fought hard for deeper roles, which they certainly earned. And in my opinion, there is no one exactly like Edward G. Robinson. How he could just carry a scene with dynamite energy every time you look at him go. You cannot look away. He has created some of the greatest characters that range beyond even gangsters, like the brothers Karamazov on Broadway, and originating the role of the manufacturer in Paddy Chayefsky's Middle of the Night with Jenna Rollins, which earned Edward G. Robinson a Tony nomination for Best Actor. He has been parodied countless times in pop culture, from Looney Tunes.
I'm giving you 2 seconds to give me the dough, see?
God, I love those cartoons. Frickin' Nickelodeon's Rugrats and the episode where Angelica fears for a baby brother, and countless films.
Meow, see? Yeah, that's it. Meow, meow.
He wouldn't be so heavily parodied if he wasn't so irresistible. So irresistible that AFI rated him as one of the 25 greatest male actors of classic American cinema, but you know damn well he is one of the greatest in cinema, period.
I think Papa has it all figured out.
Oh, you do you? Well, let's see if you're correct on the top 10 best performances by the masterful, the epitome and definition of a powerhouse actor with such heart, Edward G. Robinson. Yeah, starting off at number 10, it's Larseny Incorporated. Yes, any film lover will tell you, Edward G. Robinson mastered the gangster/crime role, but have you seen him master the same role, particularly and purposely, in a comedy? Not quite like this one. Based on the play The Night Before Christmas, this was such a great play on his typecast role at the same time of 1942, playing Pressure Maxwell, just released from Sing Sing, and wants to go straight, but the bank refuses to loan him the money to go in on his business for himself, so he wants to rob the joint. In order to get close to the bank, he buys a luggage store right next to the bank and has to put on a front to get one step closer to rob the place on Christmas Eve. And the hijinks are quite hysterical. And such a great cast with Jane Wyman, Broderick Crawford, Jack Carson, and even a younger Jackie Gleason here. This entry, without a doubt, proves that Edward G. Robinson had such a knack for comedy, beside his top-tier dramatic work. Like, look at the package wrapping sequence, which is the most memorable for obvious reasons. Number 9, All My Sons.
What did I work for? It's all for you. The whole shooting match is for you.
I know that, Dad. Just help me to stay here. That's all I ask.
Well, don't think like that.
I'm thinking like that.
The only film adaptation of the great classic Tony Award-winning play by Arthur Miller, starring Robinson as the tragic Joe Keller. I say tragic because Joe was very much a hero, more so to his son, Chris, played by Burt Lancaster, who just returned home from war and plans to marry Anne and move to Chicago, which upsets Joe since he wanted Chris to take over the manufacturing plant Joe owns. However, the dark truth, the horrible skeletons, start to come out of the closet when Chris discovers the truth behind his father. Robinson, always a man of the theater, grabs your attention and your heart throughout the whole film. It's a role that separates himself from the gangster catalog in such a light where you would want to really like this guy for how he does love his family. He loves the value of hard work, like Robinson, but then you discover what nasty and yet capitalistic actions he committed to obtain and sustain that success. It's heartbreaking. Robinson was very proud of his work here, and this is one of my favorite plays, so obviously I'll have a deeper connection with it, and they did a great job with the film itself, but it's Robinson that elevates the hell out of it with his one takes. That's why they called him One Take Eddie. Number 8, 5-star final.
Hello, Jameson? Say, send out to the mall and get the clips on Nancy Voorhees.
Yeah, see? I can't stop. But how I wish this could be much higher, folks. I really, really do. For Edward G. Robinson had stated as well, this was one of his favorite films he ever worked on. And with his colorful and raw energy on screen, you can't deny it.
I want you to wake up in the night and see your own squashy, putrid little soul.
Based on the play of the same name, it features Edward G. as an editor of a sleazy tabloid paper in New York and wants to legitimize the paper by cutting down on sensationalism and hoping a revival of a 20-year-old murder case might do the trick. Needless to say, this film is still quite timely, wouldn't you say? And Edward G. being such a giver with a hope for a greater political future, he relished and enjoyed every minute of it. The dialogue is even so juicy, and when you have great dialogue to work with, that makes the actor even more amazing to watch. And Edward G. makes it cook. Notorious newspaper publisher William Randolph Hearst was so offended by the film, painting it offensive, shocking, so that should tell you. The film does right by its purpose, resulting in a Best Picture Oscar nomination, and features one of Edward G.'s greatest final speeches in a film ever.
Hypocrite you are. We all know what you are, but we take your money and do your work because we're afraid to starve. You'll have my resignation and release of my contract on your desk immediately.
But, Randall, don't be hasty. But,
Get out!
Number 7, The Whole Town Stalking.
My name is Jones. There's Arthur Ferguson Jones. My name is not Manning, it's Jones. I'm a member of the YMCA, gentlemen. I have my card right here. I'll show you.
Now you want to talk the best comedy, or rather, hey, the best screwball comedy Edward G. Robinson ever did? Here you go, playing the dual role of both meek and shriveled ad man Arthur Jones and the slick, insidious bank robber Killer Mannion. Once Mannion gets a hold of the fact that Jones looks exactly like Mannion, he forces Jones to ghostwrite an autobiography and makes Jones take the fall for all of Mannion's crimes. Hopefully, Jones' co-worker Jean Arthur can help him out of this horrible jam without getting confused herself. He absolutely enjoyed making this picture, for he had such a great comedic director in frickin' John Ford. Oh yes, John Ford had directed a few comedies here and there indeed. And this is a great showcase of his work. My goodness. And what's wonderful is how Robinson still plays the doppelganger character so nuanced that you believe they are two separate people. When you see all the comedies that Robinson did, which weren't that many unfortunately, you are floored with how damn great he is here. Number 6, Key Largo. How I wish this was much higher as well. Damn. Directed by the brilliant John Huston, of course. This marks the greatest team of Robinson and fellow gangster actor Humphrey Bogart, who had worked together 4 times previously in other great films. Based on the hit play by Maxwell Anderson, it certainly was retooled and reshaped by Huston and Richard Brooks to bring some good modern twists to it. And when you have Robinson entering the picture as gangsta Johnny Rocco, we are there.
How you feeling, copper? I'll say one thing, you sure can take it. By the way Toots poured it on, I'm surprised you ever woke up.
Some critics have lauded this picture as hammy, but so what? Who gives a damn if it was? Robinson makes the absolute most of his role, having received second billing after Bogey, where Robinson was always top billed over Bogey in the previous films. But that didn't matter. Bogey was still the kind of guy that treated Robinson like he was number 1 on the call sheet. And Robinson always respected Bogey, which is why you love seeing them together, in this film particularly. Robinson is every bit the nasty gangsta that he plays so damn well, that he's played for 15 years up to this point, and has so many great and squirming lines. If you ask me, the best scene is that shaving scene. I'm already a bit squeamish when it comes to talking while a barber is shaving me, so when I see Robinson delivering that sick monologue.
He gave you a left eye to nail me, wouldn't you? Huh? You can see the headlines, can't you? Local deputy captured Johnny Rocco. Your picture would be in all the papers. You might even get to tell on the newsreel how you pulled it off. Yeah. Well, listen, Hick. I was too much for any big city police force to handle. They tried, but they couldn't.
Oh yeah, he's Johnny Rocco. Number 5, the Seawolf. God, how I love his performance in this film adaptation of Jack London's brilliant novel that has been powerfully put to screen by the great Michael Curtiz. There is also nothing better than the screen pairing of Robinson and John Garfield, 2 amazing Jewish theater and film legends together in such a brilliant take. Rushes the ocean from below your feet and just topples you over. Originally, Garfield's role was going to be played by George Raft, but Raft said it was too small of a role, and it worked out since Robinson didn't really like Raft. This gave Robinson even more time as certainly a villain, but a really poetic villain. This gave Robinson another chance to dive into a tyrannical captain of the cursed ship Ghost. And yet you see the pain and victimization of this character. However, Robinson surely doesn't play the victim. He plays a man with his own truth and principles. For sure, an example of fascism on screen that is both terrifying and so gripping. Once again, you're hooked.
My strength justifies me, Mr. Van Wyden. The fact that I can kill you and let you live as I choose. The fact that I control the destinies of all on board the ship. The fact that it's my will and my will alone that rules here.
Number 4, Double Indemnity.
Every month, hundreds of claims come to this desk. Some of them are phonies, and I know which ones. How do I know? Because my little man tells me.
Yes, indeed. To most, it is the best and most popular performance from the great Robinson. In such a scene-stealing supporting performance that it, honest to God, makes me so frustrated that Robinson did not receive an Oscar nomination for his performance as Barton Keyes, the bloodhound of a claims manager that can cite fraudulent activity better than anybody. He feels he can crack the case when it comes to Phyllis Dietrichson, of course played chillingly by Babs Stanwyck, but let's hope he gets close enough before it's too late for him. I mean, you've all seen it, you know how it goes, and God, we love every minute of it. The story goes that Robinson was so reluctant to take the role, for it meant a bump down in billing. But yes, according to his autobiography, All My Yesterdays, that's not entirely true, for at this point in time, when he got the call for the role, he was just glad to get a part. And it was still a sway from his gangster role, and it was an up-and-comer Billy Wilder, a Polish-Austrian, whom Robinson respected. So third build, it didn't matter. What mattered was the work. And Robinson gives the frickin' work, man. All of his scenes, especially the big long monologues, are so damn captivating. At 51 years old, you feel the man had no dings or bang-ups in his gas tank. He just goes and goes.
Suicide, how committed?
by poisons, by firearms, by drowning, by leaps. Suicide by poison, subdivided by types of poison, such as corrosive, irritant, systemic, gaseous, narcotic, alkaloid, protein, and so forth. Suicide by leaps, subdivided by leaps from high places, under the wheels of trains, under the wheels of trucks, under the feet of horses, from steamboats. But Mr. Norton, of all the cases on record, there's not one single case of suicide by leap from the rear end of a moving train.
Of course, I love that last scene between he and Fred McMurray. Though Robinson was always known for his dynamic energy, he channeled it just the same with his silent, still moments of screen.
Closer than that, Walter.
I love you too.
We love you too, Robinson. Number 3, Dr. Erlicks' Magic Bullet.
I feel it is my duty as a doctor to do everything in my power to save the lives of these children. Nothing on earth can prevent me from carrying out my duty. You will please leave this hospital at once. If you call the police before I finish my injections, I'm going to tell the parents outside that you're preventing me from treating these children.
Yes, this certainly feels too low, and it should be a bit higher. Like I said, this was utterly and painfully difficult to rank. So we can say Robinson's performance here as the real Dr. Paul Ehrlich would be tied with both entries 2 and 1. Robinson took the dearest care for his performance as the honored and respected German doctor who was working on the cure for syphilis. For Dr. Ehrlich was not only European, but Jewish, just like Robinson. For Warner Brothers to do this film at the brink of Nazi domination was indeed risky and ballsy, which Jack Warner obviously didn't want to do since Germany was still a heavy hitter for distribution. But the producers and Robinson fought on, knowing how important this story was to tell at this even time. And to cover a situation such as syphilis in a film? Oh, the humanity! How shocking!
You'd really like it or even pretend to. Dr. Ehrlich, what are you experimenting on now, may I ask?
Syphilis. I beg your pardon.
Herr Doctor, did you say,
Yes, Rashmeyer.
he said syphilis?
Yeah, that moment in the movie is so over the top and stupid, but it was a big thing. And the title isn't my favorite since it almost feels like it's trying to lure in Edward G's gangster-loving audience with adding bullet in the title. Even though that is apparently how the doctor put it. What can you do? But to see Edward G disappear in the role is so marvelous. He gives such a humanity in the role that you would think his typecasting would have ended immediately after this film. But of course not. But he would be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actor for his sensitive and powerful portrayal as the Doctor here. That would be expected in biopics of this significance, right? Wrong again. It only received a nomination for Best Screenplay, which actually disappointed Robinson, for he believed himself that he gave one of the best performances, if not the best in his career. However, the Ehrlich family would reach out to Edward G., Dr. Ehrlich's daughter specifically, and share how uncanny he was and how grateful the family was for his honest portrayal. And we all certainly agree, wholeheartedly, sir.
In days to come, there will be epidemics of greed, hate, ignorance. We must fight them in life as we fought syphilis in the laboratory.
Number 2, The Cincinnati Kid. Yes, this might be a surprising turn, but my friends, in retrospect, you have to realize the maximum significance of Robinson's powerful portrayal as champion card shark Lancey Howard, as he is prepared to go up against the up-and-comer hotshot poker player Eric the Kid Stoner, played by Steve McQueen, in 1930s New Orleans, even though it's totally shot like it was made in the 60s. I mean, come on, you could do a little better with the art direction here. Based on the novel, this channels The Hustler all the way, which is kind of amazing since both of its hotshot stars were Actors Studio alumnus, Paul Newman in The Hustler and Steve McQueen here. Spencer Tracy was originally cast as Lancey, but was falling too ill to play the role, so Robinson was brought in. And brilliant move, because I believe every single second of Robinson as the man who has always been lauded as the best. Basically Jackie Gleason's role in The Hustler, and yet with more of a chink in his armor. Robinson talks about it himself, where he had more flair and vulnerability of that of Emmanuel Goldenberg in this performance. Cold and discerning, and unflappable on the exterior, but aging and full of self-doubt on the inside. The most brilliant sequence, of course, is that final move of the poker game, where I have to spoil it, I'm sorry if you haven't seen it, and they come to that stare down. The bet is being raised, and how poker is such a mind game, Robinson plays it like he's out for blood. And our hero McQueen, we're behind him all the way. We know for sure he's gonna win. And then, boom, the Jack of Diamonds beats the kid in a throbbing upset. It all makes sense since Larseny certainly had the sweat going on him. The kid got him going, but he wins, no matter what. Robinson said it was one of the best performances he's ever given in his whole career. And at the humble age of 72 here, when he played Larseny, it is a legacy performance that an artist of his stature should absolutely stand tall and strong on. Just remember his greatest line in the film. Definitely one of the greatest lines he ever gave.
You're good, kid. But as long as I'm around, you're second best. You might as well learn to live with it.
Ain't that the truth? All right, you pickleheads, here are some honorable mentions for you. Scarlet Street, which is now considered to be one of the greatest film noirs ever made, with Robinson as yet a meek and middle-aged cashier who has a growing fondness of Kitty, played by Joan Bennett, who's really out to con the cashier and get his fortune he claims to have. After making The Woman in the Window, director Fritz Lang said, why not another one? With this specific stock company, including Dan Duryea. And while Robinson disliked doing both Woman in the Window and Scarlet Street, he still gives his honest best. Robinson thought the film was so monotonous and nothing significant was coming out on the screen. But what's so good about Scarlet Street is how his character is a painter and such an expert on art, which in natural life, Robinson was such an avid art collector and expert on art. You have to have some bit of yourself in these film noirs, eh? Our Vines Have Tender Grapes, which is such a tender performance that Robinson always adored, for it also was another sensitive portrayal he could dive into and another chance to step away from that gangster he had always been pigeonholed in. Based on the novel of the same name, he plays Martinius, a Norwegian farmer presiding in Wisconsin, trying the best he can to build a new barn and take care of his family. Very much a poignant picture with a screenplay done by Dalton Trumbo, who would be blacklisted immediately after this film. And it affected Robinson as well, for Robinson had quite a lot of troubles with the damned HUAC, the House of Un-American Activities Committee. Robinson empathized greatly with Trumbo, that he thought he could help Trumbo out with money, which resulted in Robinson being gray-listed rather than blacklisted, for he had been poked by the HUAC for having affiliations with the Communist Party, which was not true. He only knew people who had been part of the party and was still human and kind to them. Because Robinson was such a strong Democrat, of course he would be poked and targeted. Robinson fought hard for his innocence, which had been excused for a while, but it still left a little stank with Hollywood. It hurt Robinson quite a bit, but he prevailed nonetheless, and his performance here symbolizes how he was going to go through the fire in real life and stand tall on his own principles. House of Strangers, which maybe you weren't expecting, but anyone who really knows Edward G really knows the versatility he possessed. And this damn great film adaptation from the book entitled I'll Never Go There Anymore, but reshaped by the great Joseph L. Mankiewicz, with Robinson dominating an all-star cast as Gino Monetti, an Italian immigrant who started from nothing to now owning a big bank on the east side of Manhattan. Oh, what a great American story. But his methods of operation seem to be in question, especially with a new bank act that leads to criminal charges, and he needs the help of his sons, specifically Richard Conti, as his favorite son, Max, who's also a lawyer, but may grow in family collapse when love and sibling jealousy gets in the way. His Gino character is technically based on Amadeo P. Giannini, the founder of Bank of Italy, which later became Bank of America. Some people say Edward G is a little stereotypical in this portrayal with the big Italian accent, and yet the man still knew the culture, for Robinson was a very cultured artist, and quite frankly, it's quite entertaining. It also earned Robinson the Best Actor award at the Cannes Film Festival when it premiered, so take that. 2 Seconds, again based on the hit Broadway play, featuring Robinson as Riveter John, who's been sentenced to death in a court of law, and within the 2 seconds it takes for him to die in the electric chair, the events that led him there flash before his eyes. So we indeed Tarantino it, or rather in a film noir direction, go backwards in time. The film has been cited by many as the beginnings of film noir, having been released in 1932, right when Robinson was breaking out on top of the world. The film itself is very bleak and dark, not much humor to be had, but you want to talk about a performance from Robinson that, in my opinion, is so sadly overlooked and underappreciated from the masses. His giant monologue he has after his sentencing is unbelievable. It's certainly one of the greatest and most intense monologues I've ever seen on screen. How he descends into madness is so gripping that you would think this was a live performance right in front of you instead of a film. Soylent Green is people! Can't help it, but yes, the great science fiction classic based on the novel Make Room, Make Room. This is a sci-fi cult classic that is so beloved now, though it really wasn't at the time of its release. The greatest reviews that came out of this dystopian horror is Robinson's heartbreaking performance as Sol Roth, the best good buddy of Charlton Heston, who gives in to the assisted suicide, spoiler, after knowing the truth, because if the world is really coming to an end, why not go out with a magical piece of classical music and beautiful images of the earth? That scene where he is on his deathbed is so haunting and painfully real that you feel Heston's anguish, because Heston has said he certainly could feel this was Robinson's last performance he would give on screen, which inevitably happened 2 months after filming had completed. Robinson passed due to his bladder cancer that nobody knew about, and Heston said though he was terminally ill on set, he never missed a day. He never complained, and always brought joy to the set. It makes me happy that Robinson went out filming a scene that was sincerely beautifully written and shot, so that we have such a valuable memory of how gargantuan of an artist he was. Number 1? Yeah, see, that's right. Little Caesar.
Rico. R-I-C-O, Rico. Little Caesar, that's who. Yeah, you're a big guy now, ain't you, shooting your mouth off in the papers. So I ran out when it got hot, huh? You think I can't take it no more? Well, listen, you crummy, flat-footed copper, I'll show you whether I lost my nerve and my brains.
I couldn't withhold it, people. We have talked all along about how he was so typecast as the gangster, and you know what? We all can't deny the fact that his breakout performance on screen as Caesar Rico Bandello stands the test of time as one of the greatest portrayals in a gangster picture ever spawned and spat out on the screen. It is your standard rise to crime story like The Public Enemy and Scarface, but Little Caesar was indeed different and unique because there was something brutally honest and larger than life in our protagonist of Rico. For though he had the toughest exterior with such grotesque nastiness, he had a sincere heart. He had a vision for the future and was willing to do whatever it took to take it.
She's through. She's out of the way, that's what she is.
You're lying. You wouldn't dare.
I wouldn't, would I? I'll show you.
Rico, listen. I ain't gonna spill anything if that's what you're scared of. You think I want my neck stretched?
Well, you know too much. I ain't gonna take any chances. You're hanging around with me, see?
Robinson was originally considered for the role of Otero until Warner Brothers realized they had a powerful force in Robinson right in front of them. So the risk of launching a brand new lead paid off thrillingly as Robinson created such a tidal wave of love for gangster pictures right after this. Little Caesar is anything but little, and honestly, the great moments of heart still stand out. Like the best scene that has been talked over and over is the betrayal scene where Caesar is there to take out his friend Joe, played by Douglas Fairbanks Jr. But the look on his face shows through his pain and hatred of his betraying friend. He can't pull himself to kill him. Robinson shows all the emotions, all the thoughts of how shocked and appalled he is at his friend, but also at himself. It's a masterclass already in so many emotions said with no dialogue, in one take. Just his mug. This launched Robinson to the big time, and to this day, it remains such a pinnacle for gangster pictures and roles to be inspired by. Robinson was always inspirational, from his charity work to his constant fight against the rise of fascism and Nazism by donating his time and money to the political organizations against the movement. And though he couldn't serve in the Second World War, he still traveled abroad to entertain the troops, participating in the USO, and collecting war bonds. He was always the man fighting for democratic rights, endorsing the Fair Employment Practices Commission to end workplace discrimination, campaigned for the civil rights movement, and was a serious, active member of the Hollywood Democratic Committee, which obviously made him such a target for HUAC. That period of the 50s was indeed very hard for him, for he was also going through a divorce with his first wife, and work was drying up as a result of the witch hunt. But like any immigrant who has come to America for a better future, they will fight with every breath in their body for freedom, willing to do what's right as a stand-up citizen, with gratefulness and kindness. And reading about Emanuel Goldenberg, knowing how much of a kind and humble soul he was, he deserved the universe. He finally received the honorary Oscar in 1973, months after he passed away, and his good pal and screen partner, Charlton Heston, presented to his dear widow Jane. He was a silent leader and hero that goes way beyond the gangsta pictures because, from top to bottom, Edward G. Robinson was truly a Renaissance man.
Is this the end of Rico?
No, just the end of this video, sir. So you all tell me, do you agree with my picks? What are your favorite performances of the great and powerful Emanuel Goldenberg? Or, iconically, Edward Goldenberg Robinson? Please share in the comments below. You know I always love hearing your thoughts. If you like this, please click like, subscribe, and don't go away just yet, because we have more top 10s coming your way. Thank you all so much for watching, and Yash.
Yeah. Scram and buy yourself a cigar.